gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice. And what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Breakthrough Show. Today is Friday, September 27, 2019, and I am so glad to be back with you guys today. As you know, we have had a few weeks off dealing with a lot of stuff behind the scenes. In my personal life, in the personal lives of a lot of the panelists, just so much going on with everybody right now. And I came on briefly for a special edition episode with Brian Keating this last Wednesday, which was amazing. But I'm so psyched to be back for a regular edition episode today. As the intro mentioned, I'm Jessica Dugas, your host of this show. And this is The Breakthrough. It's the spiritual view for your soul and mind, where we dig deep on today's spiritual hot topics and inspire you with stories that change our lives. I am so excited about our guest today, you guys. It's a rare thing when you meet someone that you have so much in common with from across the miles, and that has been the case with our guest today, Blake Fly. He actually has a much longer last name than that, but we're gonna say Fly because it's easier for me, easier for you, and he says it's okay, so that's what we're going with. Like I said, I'm really excited that you're here with us today. If you are watching live, please comment down below, say hello, say where you're joining us from. If you're on the replay, whether you're on Facebook or one of our podcast platforms or YouTube, give us a like, a subscribe, and comment below with hashtag replay where you can, and we will be happy to interact with you after the show as well. So I want to say hi to Siri. I want to say hi to everybody else who's joining us right now. Thank you so much for being here. So as I said, we've got an incredible show today, but as you know, we always start off the show with our hot topics, and our hot topic today is a good one. So that means I need to bring on our special guest for today, or not our guest, but our fantastic panelist for today, Heather. I swear my words are just going today. So everybody, please hit the heart button for our resident Virgo. She is from Home and Office Detox. Please hit the heart button for Heather Clark today. Welcome back, Heather.
Hello.
Hello.
It's good to have you. Not a guest. That's not, yeah.
Listen, we didn't even have to record that.
Listen.
We're recording all the good stuff today, people. And how many moments, the question is, how many moments we had today that's going to end up on the blooper reel? Probably the whole thing.
Well, I know one from before this started live for sure, which, yeah, got me laughing anyways.
Yeah.
But see, it actually ties into what you were doing with the hot topic, I hear, that is patience.
Yeah. So people say that patience is a virtue. I often say that when the stork dropped me off, he left that part at home. He did not drop me off with that virtue. How about you? Do you have that virtue?
It depends. I'm going to say probably not all the time. And especially when it comes to my little minions, AKA my children.
Children will test whether or not you have patience. And we had a couple of people comment on our Facebook page earlier this week that do have children that said, that's where I learned patience from. I wasn't born with it, but that's where I learned it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that.
It hasn't happened yet.
No.
Do you feel like though that you've gotten better over time? Like, do you have more patience now than you did? Yeah. You know.
And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact of me growing as a person, not necessarily anybody else. It was me growing, understanding that, okay, pause, reflect,
right,
and then go. That no, not everything is going to be instant gratification. Patience for things to happen. Oh, I don't have patience for that either, by the way.
Yeah.
But realizing that, you know what, everything has its timing. I, like, even for me, like if I was to get things that I'm getting now or have gotten, years ago, I wouldn't have been able to be as grateful for them. I wouldn't have been ready for them. I probably would have messed them up more than I thought I did.
Right.
But yeah, I think that's the patience that I'm learning a lot in the past, at least the past year or two, if not 3, maybe 4.
Well, I mean, so there's a lot of different directions we can go with this. And what's really, so this is something that I want to point out, because when we talk about patience in the spiritual community, the thing that people often jump to is, and this was actually a few of the comments mentioned this in the post on our Facebook page as well, it jumps to, well, lack of patience comes from, expectations that we have. So many conversations that we have in the spiritual community jump to this, well, we shouldn't have expectations. But here's the thing. So expectations are, I feel like, a necessity for us as human beings. If you, could you imagine, let's just picture this, okay? Picture this. You have a deadline at work and you don't make your deadline, and you say to your boss, you shouldn't have those kind of expectations. Could you just imagine? Do you think you would have that job tomorrow? No. Or the rest of the day, for that matter?
No, and that's okay. So expectations for yourself, for children, for people around you, for like your life and stuff. It's a different. I guess it's not necessarily that we call them expectations or whatever, but it's goals, we call them maybe. But you expect a child to grow up and not be, I'm trying to say it without, not be a jerk in the world, right? Those are expectations. So if I don't have those, what's going to happen to my children? Am I just going to let them run around and do whatever they want? No, I don't have patience for that.
What about expectations when it comes to friendships or love relationships?
Okay, so here's the thing. So years ago, that totally brought a story up randomly. Funny how I actually remember certain things. Anyways, where one of the guy's friends that I was going out with, the guy that I was going out with, his friend came out and he'd asked me about whether I loved him or something like that, or whatever the case may be with. And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, do you expect him to love you back? And I'm like, I don't expect him to love me back. And it was weird because, again, that comes to that. It's like, I don't have that expectation that he loves me back. I'm going to love regardless. And yeah, so I guess that's what part of, with friends, with relationships and stuff. I'm not expecting you. Yes, I expect you to treat me with respect. I expect you to be kind, but I'm not expecting, I guess, for you to stay there if I don't meet your needs or your whatever.
Yes. And I think that that's where patience can tie in as well, because those expectations, I feel like, are normal and they're healthy. It's for us to say, this is what I expect out of the relationship. And then you sort of have to expect yourself to act accordingly if that relationship doesn't meet those expectations. So like you're saying, if you expect a friend to be kind to you and they're not kind to you, you should expect yourself to not be involved in that friendship, right? And when we bring patience into this, we can say, how much patience should I have with the relationship? So if we have a friend, you expect the friend to be kind to you, and then out of nowhere, the friend is not kind to you, do you have patience in that moment to say, okay, maybe they're just having a bad day? Like, how much patience do you issue there?
Okay, well, in that case, then yes, I will say I do have patience in that way. I do have patience. I've never said that.
See,
look at you. Because in that case, especially knowing, like, if it's a friend or somebody that's very close to me, I have the patience to understand that, okay, maybe they're just going through a bad day. What is it? Can we talk about it? Can we communicate about this so that we're both on the same expectations? And you have patience for me when I'm getting short with you, or I have patience for you when you're not listening or when you're not, meeting my expectations.
And that's where expectation is so important. I said to someone one time that you should have like some sort of meeting when you become friends with someone, like, this is what I expect, and this is what you expect, and this is where we're going to meet, and this is where we're going to have patience, and we're going to meet in the middle, and this is where we're not. This is when it's not okay.
So Jessica, I'd like to meet you in the Zoom room tomorrow. No. We'll have our expectation meeting
right now. And I think, so, I mean, let's think about it for just a second. When it comes to ourselves, I think a lot of times we have really high expectations of ourselves. I know that I do. And so because of that, I don't tend to have the most patience with myself. I tend to offer more. I would offer more patience to you than I would offer myself, which
I think that's the same with all of us. Like, we have so much more patience with others.
Yeah.
Than we do with ourselves, because we're so much more critical of ourselves. We expect so much of ourselves because we know our capabilities. That's the thing. We know what we're capable of. Right. I think that's why we expect so much from ourselves, and why we're so impatient when we know, no, you can do that. You can, meet that deadline. But, we break our own expectations, then it's a whole loop of everything else, and we get impatient.
The rabbit hole.
Yeah, the rabbit hole. Sorry, yes.
Well, let me tell you, I have such high expectations for our guest today. No pressure, Blake. No pressure. But it really, it's funny how some people that I like I said in the intro to the show, I've been so impressed with Blake and everything that he has done as an entrepreneur and just simply as a human being. And I don't often do this because I like to just say what comes to my mind, but I have to read his bio as I'm bringing him on today, because this is going to, if nothing gives you an insight into what kind of epic human being Blake is, his intro will do that for you. So I'm going to introduce our guest today now, which I'm really, really excited that he is here. So Blake Fly is a huge fan of the Ninja Turtles. He is heavily lactose intolerant and believes that appreciation is rocket fuel for your life and your business. Let me know if you can agree with that. Do you think that gratitude and appreciation is important in your business? Let me know. Blake is an 8-time TEDx speaker, author, and co-founder of My Life Online, a global education company that teaches kids how to appreciate one another online. He is also the leader of Project Finish, a global co-working community for entrepreneurs and creatives to have more fun while getting more done. He has been featured on CTV, broadcast television, the national news, and has shared the stage with CBC's Rick Mercer. Blake's innovative appreciation methods have gotten him invited to speak to over 100,000 students, and probably grown even more now, across the continent, and work with companies like Lululemon, MEC, Microsoft, and LinkedIn. Blake's family means the world to him, and his partner Emily is the girl he plans to cook craft dinner for over the next 75 years. Everybody, I was going to welcome Blake, but it looks like he's gone fishing. Everybody, God, please welcome Blake to the show.
What is going on? I'm really excited about this whole thing we're about to experience.
Awesome. Did you have patience while you were waiting in the void space green room?
Oh, it was an Inception level experience for me to be sitting, waiting to know when I come in and have a conversation, hearing about the topic of patience. And I was so into the conversation that I didn't know if it was live, if I should respond, or if I just were to remain patient. So it was a whole bunch of levels, but I learned a lot. And thank you for your patience with my description.
And that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. We're done now.
Bravo. So how does patience show up in your life, Blake? Do you find that you're a patient person or not so much?
I have been told that I'm a patient person, so that's nice. Though I also know myself and where it does and does not show up. And I think it stems a lot from just what I grew up being used to, which was my parents, my mom, super patient, eternal patience, just patient, 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 patient. My dad, he'll just be done before we've even begun. He's self-admittedly got a short fuse, no patience, no time for anything other than like the right thing in the right moment. So in order for me to just manage those two models, I feel like I've subscribed to the school of patience because it was just more fun to be that way in my household. And frankly, I find that it's just enjoyable being a creative person to be more patient than most people, because I find that a lot of people default to impatience. Mm-hmm. So just as like a little creative experiment for myself, I'm like, I wonder if I can outpatient people in situations that promote impatience.
That sounds really interesting.
Okay, and can I join the school of patience that you talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm building it right before your eyes, which I think is what we're talking about today. Just building things that you know you need for your own benefit and benefiting others.
I'm curious though, because I know you and Emily just recently had your 1-year anniversary, right? You were 1 year married. So how have you found that you can be patient in your marriage, or is that a new ball game?
Oh, wonderful question. It's a new ball game, and yes. So what I mean by that is I have something on my desk here. I'll just reach for it. So this is the wedding invitation from our wedding, and I had one of my groomsmen edit it. So it's the same invitation, but he edited the details. So it basically says, the family of Emily and Blake request your presence at their 75-year wedding anniversary, Tuesday, August 4th, 2093. And in the same location as the wedding. And then it says dinner and dancing to follow. So I did this on purpose. Awesome. Because I know that, especially with the world of social media and just things happening fast and comparison and the grass is always greener, in moments where you may become impatient and there are challenges in the relationship, for me, I wanted something to anchor to that was ultimate. So if we're in a season of impatience with one another, which we get into, if I'm thinking of that day, I'm just like, oh my God, like what's going on? Though if I just lean into oh wait, I've got a party to go to. It's on August 4th, 2093. Then it instantly becomes this like molecule of a moment instead of this massive issue. And then the day before the wedding, I inscribed the date for the 75th in the ring too. So like, I'm providing accountability on myself, and everyone at the wedding, they saw me talk about the invitation in my speech. So I've just bolted myself into like a high level of commitment, not because I'm awesome, but because I know sometimes we get super impatient with people we love the most. So that's my way of hooking into patience.
Well, that's our awe moment for the day, and we're done with the episode now. Goodbye. That's so good though. Because it's so true that we let little things, get to us, and we lose sight of what it is that we're trying to do. And I love that. Emily, you got a good guy there. So anyway, I know that you're super, super proud of your marriage, and I know that you're super proud of a lot of other things in your life as well. And one of the things that I think that we get along so well on is being multi-passionate and having our hands and our heads in a lot of different places and wanting to do all the things and save the world, because that's what Aquarians do. And so were you always like this, where you wanted to be in this space of creation?
I'd say so, because as a kid, I loved art and music. Like I was just really drawn to the creative side of school, the arts side of school. So that was just kind of an obvious thing early on. But even later in life, mainly in university, whenever I'd noticed some things coming up that were stressful, let's say exams, everyone just sort of buckles into this stressful environment and they're just throwing back Red Bull and getting wound so tight. In those moments, I was always trying to think of how can we make this fun? Partly because I was just procrastinating and not doing my studying. And the other part because I thought, well, yes, this is inherently stressful. And perhaps we can just make this enjoyable as best as possible. So I would do things like make study groups, but we all had to wear like yellow to go to the library. So just a simple little thing that is in no way a big deal, but it's like, hey, everyone, 6 p.m., we're going to the library, we're yellow. And we're going to be like the team yellow study gang. Like just silly, simple things that I could be creative on a basic mundane activity, but then it could create some culture, some memories, little just like throwback moments for later of, hey, does anybody want to like do another one of those like pick a color, wear a shirt, go to the library things? So I've always been creative to just add joy to things that by default might not have it. And that's just, frankly, it might be a coping mechanism for all I know, but that's my style for making things fun.
Well, okay, so did you also find that when you did that, let's take the example of the yellow shirts at the library, when you did that, did you find that they were more willing to actually participate at that point? Like they, because they were included in something like, oh, we're the yellow shirts, kind of deal. Like, did you find it was more inclusive at that point? Like those who maybe, depending on when you did them or when you did these things, whatever, that they didn't feel so alone, that they weren't so, by themselves going through these times?
Well, it kind of reminds me of the start of this show with the topic of expectations and friendships. What it definitely accomplished was it outlined expectations very clearly, which meant people could very easily say, that's stupid, I'm out. Like, hey, that's fine. Or they could very clearly say, that's kind of random, I'm in. So by the time people did show up, the right people showed up and the right people chose to step out because it wasn't designed for all people. It was more for people that saw value in going about the experience in that way. So it almost put a filter on it. It's not like you're in the club and you're out of the club, but it was, here's the sign. And if you're drawn to this sign, like, come on over and join us. And I really love doing things like that personally and professionally, because you sort of look around and end up being surrounded by people that elevate you and whose company you enjoy. And even this right now, I mean, how Jess and I met sort of came from that same kind of thing. Like we sort of fell into this funnel of similarity and we weren't saying no one else is welcome, but it was very evident like, hey, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's such a huge, that's kind of where I think we need to differentiate a little bit, because so many people are afraid of leaving people out. They're afraid to niche down in their business. They're afraid to, put that sign out there that says, hey, we're doing the yellow shirt thing. But really, you're not discluding anybody. You're saying, you're putting the sign up and saying everyone's welcome, but here's the expectations, here's the parameters of it. And
well, and you're giving them a choice.
Yeah.
You can choose to join or not. This is what we're doing if you are choosing to join us. And if you don't join us, that's fine. No harm, no foul.
Yeah. And I find it's fun to, extreme's not the best word, but I'll use it just to make an easy example. But if you make it kind of extreme in terms of what they will expect if they take part, you sort of delete the maybe column. Because when someone's maybe into an event, maybe into a friendship, maybe it's like that fence sitting part of existence. It just takes up time and energy and space. But if it's got these extreme expectations of like, we're all going to go do a cartwheel party in a field on Sunday, no one's kind of into that. So they're like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, or I am already cartwheeling. So
my daughter would join you.
Yeah. And
100%.
then, and you instantly connect at a values level. You're not sort of like, oh yeah, I saw this and thought my Sunday's open. It's just, oh my gosh, I also love cartwheeling. So you're quickly into like a real locked in state of we get each other.
I think that, you know, we've talked about oftentimes in my circle, you know, how lonely being an entrepreneur can be. You know, it's very easy to close ourselves in our office and kind of get to work, and we don't have interaction like we would at the office or something like that. And that's one of the things that that I loved about what you were doing as well, and something that you and Heather have in common as well, which is why I was like, oh, match made in heaven between guests and panelists, because that idea of having those similarities and meeting up with people that share your values or share, you know, at least, hey, we're going to get stuff done together at the same time, you know, at minimum there, that's a beautiful thing, because there's something about the energy when you do that. And so it's kind of, you know, you were touching a little bit on, you know, you're not sure if what you're doing is a coping mechanism or not, and you were kind of creating things because you were procrastinating too, and that's where the idea of what we're talking about in the show today about building your boat to sail in, creating the life that you want, comes into play. So I know that you've done Project Finish and you've done different things like that where you bring entrepreneurs together to get things done. How did that come about? Was it simply that you just didn't want to get things done by yourself, or?
Pretty much. There were a couple of things that contributed to it. When I was finishing university, there was, again, it was exam season. So it's interesting that I'm bringing this up again, but there was a library on campus called Weldon Library. And I had a part-time job, had exams, and just wanted to hang out with friends. And I was dating a girl at the time. And I thought, how can I actually like see all these people and do all these things that need to get done in a small period of time? So, and I had to run an event for the building of students for like an academic check mark in my job. So I basically put up a poster, again, like put the sign up, and literally or metaphorically, then people will come to it. And I called the event Well Done. And what it was we were going to go to Weldon Library. We were going to study together. And we're going to study for 5 hours. And at the end, I was going to buy pizza for whoever showed up. And the beauty of it is I could also invite my friends, and I could also invite the girl that I was dating at the time. So I got to study. I was doing my job, hanging out with my friends, seeing my girlfriend at the time, and eating pizza. And so I was just like winning. But all those things were like sincere and genuine and accomplishing the task at hand. So that's always what I look for, is how can I get like 5 things accomplished at once? And it's not cheating a system or anything. It's just being intentional and creative and strategic. And then even similar to follow that, like I back in the day realized, okay, as a kid, I'd play a lot of sports and everything, but going to the gym, I was the guy that would only go to the gym if like someone would punch me in the face if I didn't show up. Like I needed some extreme kind of accountability.
I feel like I'm that right now.
Yeah. So I found one friend back when I worked at a university, and we made this program and we called it Jacked, because we wanted to work out together, but neither of us were that motivated to do it. And so it was called Jacked. He lived on one side of campus, I was on the other, and we would meet on a basketball court in the middle of campus at 6 a.m. and we would do 100 push-ups. Like that's all that we did. Meet at the basketball court at 6, 100 push-ups, then we're gonna go back to our respective places. Except we added a couple little pieces. If you were late, you had to write an apology card and then run it like a jog to the other guy's house at dinner time. So you wouldn't want to be late because then you had to write a card and run across campus later in the day. Also, if you got there half an hour early and took a picture and posted it or like sent it to the other guy had to make you an award. So it was in everyone's best interest to like be there early and like not be late and just be good. And it was only two of us. But because we just made it so ridiculous, it worked. So all those little wacky things back when I was a student, it kind of just spun into present day where anytime I realize, okay, I'm kind of in a valley personally or professionally, or I'm not getting certain things done that need to be done, what bell can I ring or create to assemble the village so that we can help each other out? Because I know if I'm going through something, guaranteed someone else is going through or has gone through the identical thing. So I just got to make a poster. And that's what led to Project Finished.
This is amazing. Like hearing the backstory, because I totally am on board with absolutely everything you have just said in the sense of, yeah, just put that sign up. But what can you create right now? What bell can I ring? And like, oh my God, I'm exactly like, it isn't even posted yet. I'm exactly what you are saying right now. Something's about to come out that I'm like, that's exactly it. And Jess already knows about it, but I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly it.
Well, and I don't know if I don't even know if this resonates with either of you, but part of it for me is I sometimes don't do these things on my own because I'm frankly like self-conscious. I think, oh, it's kind of weird. Like it's sort of weird if I say like, can someone like wake me up, please? Like I'm in my mid-30s and I just don't know if I'll wake up, I might sleep in but okay, then let's make some accountability experience that's awesome. And it involves like seeing the sunrise with a group of people, either in person or online. And then if you just kind of build a container and a cool brand around it, all I'm doing is saying, yo, can someone wake me up? Because I might sleep in otherwise. Though in the process, I've built a thing that creates community and frankly, like income for my family. But it's just because I didn't want to do it by myself because it might have looked really weird, or I might have literally blown it if it was left to just my own device.
It's so similar with the show here when, I had done a show by myself and while it was okay, I mean, I'm a talker. I don't run out of things to say very easily. Listen, I don't run it, but I thought, I wasn't always consistent with it. And it wasn't as fun to talk to myself. And, when you're doing Facebook Lives, it is the most frustrating thing, especially with the lag of comments when people are commenting and you ask a question and then you're like, I'll just wait. and then they might or might not answer, and then it's so awkward. And so when I was thinking of creating the show, I said this would be so much better with other people, and I know that if I ask them to show up, I'm going to show up. And that's how this show came together as well. It was just sort of that, kind of it almost like a selfish thing of that's what I need, so I'm going to create it because that's what I need, right?
But isn't that honestly how most entrepreneurs work? Honestly, like, let's face it, they go to look for this thing and this thing isn't out there, so let's do it myself and let's bring some more people on with me along the journey. Mm-hmm. That's how it's done. So I love the fact that you're basically saying, like, put up your sign.
Yeah.
Put up your sign. Who comes will come. Who doesn't, it's okay. Yeah. This just isn't for them.
Well, this is something that doesn't exist yet, but it's super on point with what we're saying. But this whiteboard here that I made, just a goofy sign, gone fishing. Like I travel with this when I'm traveling for speeches. So I keep it in my bag because sometimes I use it to make videos or things for work. But whenever I'm in airports, I'm noticing everyone in an airport, like, they get restless, they get kind of stiff, and they might want to like do some stretches or whatever. But again, they might be self-conscious. Like, if I just start doing lunges in an airport lounge, people are going to be like, what's the deal with the guy doing lunges? Even though everyone sitting there is probably thinking like, oh, I just want to like move my body or not be sitting here. So what I was thinking of lately is with this sign as a way for me to actually stay mobile in long delayed airport situations, is I was going to, like, there's this idea of like body weight exercises where you don't need any actual devices. And so I was going to write on my sign, body weight exercise, but weight like WAIT. So I was going to put body weight exercise on the sign, like at my feet, and draw a little airplane on the sign. And I was just going to start like doing stretches or jumping jacks or something, because it just provides context. If I do that without the sign, I might get taken away. If I do that
ingenious
with the sign, I won't get taken away. I will likely get people to talk to me. And I almost assure you that at least one person will come on by and be like, you know what? Like, I'm getting like super restless and just stiff sitting here. Yeah, I'll join you, whatever. But no sign, I'm nuts. If I have a sign, I'm a genius.
Isn't that funny how that works?
So all watching, make sure you have your sign. Here's your sign.
Right.
Yeah. I want to get in to talk to you a little bit about My Life Online, and also TEDx as well. But I want to ask you this. Do you feel like how do I want to word this? I might have to wait until I can word it even better. Let me ask you this. So when you went to create My Life Online, when you went to become a TEDx speaker, was any of that tied into the same mentality of, I'm just creating what I need?
I'll start with My Life Online. The short answer is yes. And I'll kind of take it back to how it all sort of formulated in my mind. And the interwoven nature of this is entertaining to me, because if we go back a little bit, I wanted to, when I started my business, wake up earlier. Because when I started my own business as a speaker, I slept till like 10 a.m. I was just like living with my parents at the time to save a few bucks on rent to start the business. I didn't need to wake up. I had no boss. But then I met a friend who was an acquaintance from years before. He had just started his own business. So we were both guys working alone, realizing we both wake up at like 9, 10, sometimes 11 a.m. So we wanted to challenge each other to wake up at like 6. Sort of kind of like the jacked fitness program. Different friend though. So every day at 6 a.m. we'd phone each other, and the first guy to call and pick up got like a point, just a little tally. That's all you got. And to make sure the guy was awake and moving, you had to walk to a nearby washroom and flush the toilet, so that the other guy knew you were up, alert, moving, not just pretending you were awake and then going back to bed. Then we realized that environmentally, flushing a toilet that you didn't even use is maybe not ideal. So we shifted it to just running the tap and then shutting the tap. And I say all this because his name is Dave. Dave and I at the time were just trying to help each other start businesses and not be lonely in the process. So we met up at coffee shops and worked together on our own individual things. Dave knew that I was a speaker. He wanted to get into speaking himself. I said, like, I only have done this for a year. I would like to do more speaking to kids in like grade 8 down to kindergarten. Why don't we make something together? Then you'll see what I know and we'll actually make a thing. So this topic of like build your boat to sail in, I wanted to make a thing for kindergarten to grade 8. I didn't have it yet. Dave wanted to learn speaking. Hey, let's do this. And then everybody's winning. Students benefit, you benefit, I benefit, high five. And fast forward years later, Dave and I are now business partners, because the presentation that we made years ago, it was mainly teaching kids to be kind in school. And it was like fun. It was this 2-man show. He's a singer. I'm a guitar player. We wore tuxedos. It was like totally electric. Kids loved it. But then we evolved it into more teaching kids to be kind, not only in school, but also online. And that came from the fact that many teachers said to us, do you talk about cyberbullying? And we said, no, though we love talking about life online and ways to just like be positive and impactful and cool in the digital ecosystem. So we made a program for kids teaching them those values. not really on tips for the individual platforms, but more ideas to create these lifelong practices. So you can apply this to Snapchat, to Instagram, to YouTube, to texting. Just how do you want to show up in the world? And what do you want the world to be saying about you? So we did build it because we knew that someday when he and I have families of our own, we want the thing that will help our kids and us as future parents raise kids in a life that is increasingly digital. So we selfishly built a thing that our future 10-year-olds can benefit, and so can we as future fathers in our families. And we selflessly built a thing that we know is needed and important and we're good at because we've been talking to kids for like 10 years.
Okay, can I just say as a mom, thank you.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I said to him when I learned about it as well. I said, listen, I've got 6 children at home. Thank you, because it's so crazy. I will go on and I will play Minecraft with my kids, and there's the chat in Minecraft, and I'm always the oldest one on there. I'm always the oldest one on there. But they all call me mama. It's the cutest thing. So but there's so many of them who never had anyone to teach them how to interact, in a nice way online, and you run into like the bullies a lot, and so that there's no one that's like coaching them or even talking to them about how they should be behaving online. And so it's a cool thing that you guys are doing, and I was so blown away that you were thinking about being a dad in the future, or your nieces, nephew, that sort of thing, and you didn't even have kids at home yet, but this was like you knew it was needed, and I love that.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing that I know now is kind of unique. I kind of just thought everybody thinks this way, but I'm constantly hanging out with my future self and making things that I know I'd benefit from. Like the 75th year wedding anniversary, like all I do is invite people to my 75th wedding anniversary with Emily, because then I just need to make sure I'm showing up daily to get there. And like I even moved into a nursing home for a week and I lived there because I think someday it'd be really cool to, be the bingo playing, committee joining, food eating resident of a nursing home when I'm like 100 years old, which by then will be like 78 years old.
That is crazy. That is funny. That is awesome. Well, I guess you really do, when you do that future part of you, you have to feel it. You have to feel the emotions or whatever. And you totally like put yourself in there now. That's amazing. So yeah. I have a question to do with your program for the kids and cyberbullying and stuff like that. What is when do you know, or when, if you've already had it with some kids and stuff like that, know like that you've succeeded in this? That's that one kid that was getting bullied, that now you have given this program to them or allowed them to have this. Have you gotten those kind of responses yet?
Yeah, there was this one interaction that happened last year that for me and my business partner, Dave, sort of serves now as the moment around, whoa, okay, that's the affirmation of something's working. Because one of our programs is called Smartphone Ready, which is like driver's ed for a child's first phone. And it's a course that parents and kids can go through together. And at the end of it, we have a graduation on Zoom. So we put on graduation caps and we read out their names and we give certificates to the kids who finished the course. And one of the kids at the graduation, because we have them talk on Zoom with their parents and they tell us what they learned and maybe ideas to add to it. And one of the young people on the call, it was this gentleman from Texas, and he said, what I love about this course is now I will know when I get my own Instagram account what other kids know about Smartphone Ready based on the way that they act on Instagram. And then we said, can you tell us more about that? Because that's really awesome for us to know. Like, what would you see that would say this kid took that course? And he was just saying, well, there's a lot of people who they just don't think before they post something. But if I see someone who puts something online that is kind or supportive or just cool information, I'll know that they've gone through this way of thinking before they got an Instagram account or before their parents bought them their first phone. So we thought it was amazing that kids think that they can spot other kids who essentially are graduates of smartphone ready.
Oh, that is so awesome. Yeah, no, that definitely makes it worthwhile for sure. Like just to know that you've impacted him enough to know that he can recognize the impact in others that way from the same program.
Well, and it's even like where I live and where you live, because apparently we've lived together.
Apparently we
there's this, again, the driver's ed example. Where I live in Canada, there's this company called Young Drivers of Canada. And then there's 100 other driver's education companies. And some are just like some person who like says, you know what? Yeah, I'll teach you how to drive. I got some insurance. Let's put a sign on my car and let's do this.
Hey, you told people to just put a sign up.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Just that's what it is. And I've heard people for years comment on, oh, like you must have taken young drivers based on the way that they drive. Or you must not have taken young drivers based on the way that you drive. And these are just subtleties. It's not like a completely different way of driving, but there's just some subtle ways that people show up driving a vehicle that says, yeah, they did young drivers.
Does one have to do with turning left at a
the S
lights?
approach?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, the S approach. Minimum mile lead time, S approach, ground viewing, essential. And
oh, that's too funny.
So that's the goal, is how can we just create this like list of nuanced decision-making tools for kids that other kids go, yeah, they don't have those tools. It doesn't mean they're bad kids or they're going to ruin their lives. It's just, so close, but they could have just done a couple things differently and really saved themselves from that harm or stress, or really created something positive and useful.
Well, that, and the kids that did take it can go, hey, by the way, here, I took this. Like empowering them to, give that information out as well.
Yeah. I have visions of 11-year-olds at recess just being like, bro, aren't you smartphone ready? Like, you need to get smartphone ready. Tell your mom.
Listen, my son just got a smartphone for his 11th birthday. So
whoa.
I may have to, right?
There you go.
I could so see your son doing that too.
Oh yeah, he totally would too. Oh my God, my son is my mini me. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. All right, I want to switch gears for just a minute because while I love what you're doing with My Life Online, obviously as a mother, as a human being on this planet, we appreciate that. But I also, one of the things that when Shoshana, our mutual friend, had said, hey, you should connect with this guy, Blake, I did what normal people do. I go stalking, like, who's this guy, Blake, she's talking about? And that's what we do. And so I find one of your TEDx speeches, and what I was immediately drawn to is not just this guy that's standing up there talking. You took us to a place and you had props and you sang and you were doing all of this stuff. And I was like, I wish everyone spoke like this, because I was engaged and I was listening and I could understand what you're saying, because I'm such a visual person. And that's one of the reasons why we started this show as video and not just a podcast, because I want to see your face. I want to see you, with props and doing, listen and do, doing the things that we do that make us, cool and unique. And so that's what I loved about you. How did you get into, you've been in TEDx stage 8 times?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you get into that? Like some people are just like waiting for waiting for that one time, and now 8 for you. How did you get into that realm of things?
TEDx specifically or speaking?
Yeah,
TEDx.
the TEDx stage.
Yeah. So what's amazing about TEDx is I feel like it's this example of people can't always see behind the scenes, because really the way that TEDx came to be is, I mean, professional speaking has been my main work for about a decade. And a friend of mine who I was his trip leader on a spring break service learning trip like 15 years ago. We went to an orphanage. We were doing cool work with kids there and teaching English and stuff. So I was the trip leader. This guy was a student on the trip. So we got to know each other, hung out, hit it off. 7 years later, he ran a TEDx event and he needed speakers. And so he just texted me. He's like, hey, will you be my first speaker? And will you also host the thing? And I don't know. I was like doing laundry. And I said, yeah, totally. Let's do it. So on one hand, there's nothing glamorous about that. On the other, it was a 6, 7, 8 year process to be in the relationship that turned it into an opportunity. So then what became 8 TEDx's, and I'm doing another TEDx in like a month, so 9, that essentially came from then word of mouth of like, oh, okay, you need to like host this one and speak at this one. So it really just snowballed from doing a good job and being a decent human. And also online, there's so much like, just look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I do that too, because that's the nature of the internet. But I always love following up with people. I think I've done that with you, Jess, a few times. If I see something that you share online, and because we've got these phones here, if I think, oh, that seems cool, like Jess has 27 kids, nice. And then I'll literally get out my phone, I'll send you a message and just make like a video that says, Jess, what's up? I'm currently here working. Saw your post just now on Facebook. It says you have 27 children. That's impressive. And I thought I'd just tell you that. So have a good day. And that takes me 10 seconds, but I probably send 10 of those a day, and I have for about 5 years. So there's always these like galactic networking things taking place that you can't really measure, but then they might land into something like a 9th TEDx speech.
Isn't that a testament to what we were talking about in the beginning about patience too? I mean, had you ever, as a speaker for so long before you became a TEDx speaker, you know, did you have visions of that for yourself? Is that something you aspired to do?
Yeah, I went to a TEDx event before I started speaking, because I loved the idea of TEDx. I was super inspired by it. I thought that would be awesome to speak at one of these TEDx events someday. So I didn't have the money for a ticket. I went to the lobby of a TEDx event, and I sat in the lobby where it was free and you could like watch on the monitor outside. And then at the break, everyone comes out, everyone goes back in. So everyone went back in, and I'm sitting on the bench watching the monitor, and the usher's like, come on in, it's starting. And in that moment, I'm like, I don't want to not follow his instructions. So I just walked in, and then I was at TEDx for the whole day. So yes, that was a definite visioning experience for me, where I'm in the event and audience and thinking, okay, at some point I'll be at an event like this on the stage. And then it kind of came to be through an 8-year friendship, rather than me actively hustling and networking. And I'm not the greatest at doing direct door knocking for business, but I'm a beast when it comes to just putting things out there, and they kind of land and blossom and grow when it is meant to take place.
Putting those signs up. You're really good at putting those signs up.
So are you like Hansel and Gretel, where there's signs everywhere and they can follow you?
Pretty much. Yeah, I work with both of them.
Breadcrumbs
I work for both.
everywhere. Everywhere. So one of the things, like I mentioned, that I loved about the talks that I've seen with you is that they're very interactive, that you're not just sitting there talking, you're calling people on the stage, like you randomly call people from the stage, and people enjoy this.
Oh, it blows their minds. Like, you're in my phone, Jess, so maybe
I'm
someday
excited.
it'll happen. Because I scroll, and then the audience chooses when we stop scrolling, and then that's the person we call. So, like, I called my orthodontist a month ago, and it was weird.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Heather went to the same orthodontist, I'm sure.
You know what? Listen, if we went to the same elementary school, I'm sure we did too. Yes.
Dr. Davis.
Oh.
I'll have to ask my sisters because I don't know.
So funny, so funny. So one of the other things that I mentioned that Blake does on stage is he brings his guitar out, and that is one of the actually, that was the first speech that I had listened to from you, Blake, was sharing about when you went to college and you brought your guitar out and you just kind of were like playing it, and it was sort of like the sign, you were playing it and to see what happened, and people, and then next thing you know, you have a band and you're playing all over the place. And I had a very similar experience when I went to college, of sitting in my dorm room and playing, and people would walk by the room and be like, what are you doing in there? You know, kind of thing. And so I loved that. And so music is one of the ways that you and I have connected as well, and just that love of music. And I heard you play, we talked about playing You Are My Sunshine. And I thought that that was the perfect song for you to play today, because I always associate that song with bringing joy to the world. With just, it's just such a, it's a happy, and I feel like that's what you do. And I would love it if you would play that for us today.
Well, okay. I have the guitar here because A, you told me to have it, and B, because I have guitars around me where I work. So here we go. Got the guitar, got a pick. Now, I haven't played You Are My Sunshine in like 8 years without lyrics in front of me, which sounds silly because there's only like 4 lines, but lyrics and we don't really remember each other that well. So here's what's going to happen.
We're going to love it.
Here, let me back up the camera a little bit so there's a bit more guitar. Okay. All right. Okay. There we go. Oh, just that. What? We just got a production team here. Basically me. Okay. Am I singing alone, or can you both like wave your arms back and forth a bit, like bonfire style? Okay. So get ready for it. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. And something dear, how much I love you. Oh, don't take my sunshine away.
That's awesome. I was not going to sing with you because we don't need, I don't sing. Music is never my thing. But
I also don't really consider myself a singer. I'm more of a like bonfire facilitator. So
I'm not even that when it comes to music. I'm the cheerleader.
There are so many things. We all have our own things that we're so good at. And there are so many things that our resident Virgo here excels at that I'm like, we don't do that here.
But I will help you.
That's right. And I will sing to you and cook for you, and you come just organize my stuff and we'll be good to go.
Perfect.
That's how that works. That's how it works. Blake, thank you so much for being on with us today. Would you like to tell everybody where they can find you, and maybe a little, what do you have going on right now that people can come huddle under the sign?
Well, great question. Easiest way to find me, I'd say, is probably Instagram. I'm just Blake Fly, Fly, like a bird, Blake Fly. And I'm not there all the time, but that's usually the best way to find me. And what I'm up to right now, my life online continues to build and will for a long time. But if you want to hang out on a frequent basis, I literally am on Zoom every morning with a team of entrepreneurs getting their work done 90 minutes before the sun comes up. So let me know if you ever have projects on the go. Yeah. But Blake Fly on Instagram, send me a message, a video or an audio. Let me know you're a real human and we'll form a friendship.
Awesome. I love that. I would love to finish out having you on today and just ask you a question. So building your boat to sail in, creating the life you want, the lovely line from Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. What if they don't? What if you build this boat and no one comes? What would you say to someone who says that to you?
Patience.
Oh, snap. Wow, that was great. That was fantastic.
This is good.
Good job. Good job. High five.
I have nothing else now. Awesome. Blake, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you taking the time to share with us a little bit about your story, for singing to us, and all of that fun stuff. And we will catch up with you again soon, my friend.
Okay. Thank you so much for this amazing experience.
All right. Heather, let's talk for just a minute because we're running over the time. What are your biggest takeaways from Blake sharing about building your boat to sail in today? And then so beautifully tied it back into patience.
Well, listen, that's always how it works. He just did it in such a direct, beautiful, done way. Anyways, but no, honestly.
Drop.
Mike, listen, okay, today's is a lot of mic drops. For me personally, the fact that Blake and I realized that we literally, ladies and gentlemen that are watching, Blake and I went to the exact same elementary school. That's crazy.
It's a small world after all.
I know about Blake through Jessica, through whatever. So don't tell me that this connections, like he was saying about the, the TEDx and stuff like that, your connections can happen 10, 20, how old are we, Blake? Anyways, he's a little younger, but that's 20 plus years later. And there's that circle of life of connection and everything like that. And what you do today will affect your future self. So I love how he does that.
Yeah.
Future with his, the future self of the invitation, the future self that he actually, went in and did the retirement home stuff and whatever. That's just, that's crazy.
Well, and I thrive on stuff like that. I have shared so much about being the nostalgic person that I am. And so it was funny because before the show, Heather and Blake were having this whole, 2 degrees of separation.
We weren't sure if we were going to let
on.
Jessica be part of the show today.
Well, and see, that's what Blake was like. Can we, what else can we talk about so that we make sure you're included in this conversation? But the thing of it is even me sitting back and listening to that, that just blows my mind, makes me happy. It lights me completely up, and I love that.
Because it was because of you that Blake and I got to have that conversation. Oh, now she's gonna cry, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. I thought we'd listen.
There's no crying on the breakthrough. How many movie lines are we gonna say today? Let's count how many we've said in the show today. There's no crying on the breakthrough.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there is every time.
But that's it. That's exactly it. It's that patience of who you meet today and who you are today, your future self, your future people that you meet. I think that's what I got the most out of it.
Yeah, and I for me, I loved the talking about, if we apply what he was saying to being an entrepreneur. So like I talked about with so many people being afraid to niche down and being afraid to leave people out. I know I have been just as guilty with that of being, well, I'm not going to put rules in place or put guidelines. You know how hard it was for me even going into this season of the show. Yep. And saying, okay, I know we didn't have expectations for panelists before, but now this is what has to happen. That was so hard for me because I was so afraid.
You used to come to me and ask me and I'm like, no, that's exactly what you should do. Virgo me says yes, so that's good.
The Virgo in me says to the Aquarian in you, get your stuff together. Yeah, but it was so hard for me to draw that line in the sand, and then to be okay if someone says your side of the sand isn't, it's not.
I don't want
for
to be
me,
part
right?
of your sign.
Right. I don't want to be under your sign. That part, I think sometimes I'm still a little bit of a work in progress on, because I'm like, but why? My sign is pretty. You don't want to wear the yellow shirt? We like yellow.
But that's the thing. It has nothing to do with you, though.
Right.
And that's where the patience comes in.
Look at what we did here today, people. Look at what we did. I want to give a special thank you to everybody that's jumped in. You guys' comments are so much fun. Lori, Siri, I know Lucinda was here. Linda was here. We had lots of people joining us live on Facebook today. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you enjoyed Blake on the show today and our hot topic as much as we did. And we just appreciate you so much for being here. And we ask you, if you enjoyed the show, to take a minute and hit that share button and ask other people to enjoy the show with us on the replay as well. All right, so we have a couple changes coming up with the breakthrough, but I don't want to say anything just yet because we are still in the works with everything. But this is going to be, you are going to see a special edition of the Breakthrough Show in 2 Saturdays from now. So October the 5th, you are going to see a conversation of sorts come on the show here with some very good friends of mine who are women. First and foremost, they are moms, they are wives or spouses or partners, they are entrepreneurs, and they are also dealing with very, very personal things in their lives. And this is something that a shout out to my friend Angela here in Opelika, Alabama, that said to me one time, social media is such a liar, in that we don't see the little bits and pieces of things that go on behind the scenes of people's lives. And we see people come on shows like this and give a smiling face, but we don't really know what's going on. And so we're going to have a little conversation that I think you guys are going to enjoy. And on that show, we are going to be talking about some of the changes taking place with the Breakthrough Show. And I can't wait for you guys to be a part of that conversation with us. So tune in on Saturday, October the 5th, and that is going to be at, let me make sure I have my time right, 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And if you're overseas, I love timeanddate.com because I am time zone challenged. So that's what 11 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, October 5th. And until next time, I want to thank our fabulous panelists today, Heather Clark, our declutter coach and consultant, helping us to be grounded and organized through our breakthrough moments. And also special thanks to our guest today, Blake Fly. Check him out on Instagram at Blake Fly. And we'll see you guys next time on another episode of the Breakthrough Show. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.